Hey there, sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal, and so we very much need your help right now. And and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal, and so we very much need your help right now. And and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance, or our welfare or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars, and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free health care, or low-cost college or health care, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today, 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, happy Monday, top of the brand new week to you. A lot going on in the world today. Parkland Student is now in a Brown shooting. Trump's response, things can happen, right? Are we pulling out of NATO in a few years? The TSA is giving ICE the names of all travelers. Oh, and is the morbidly rich's brilliance really a threat to the Republic? I'll tell you about all those things in just a moment. In the second hour of our program, Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State will be with us for the entire hour, taking your calls in a national town hall meeting. In the third hour of our program, not a palace. The National Trust has sued. This is a congressionally created organization, has sued to stop Trump's so-called presidential ballroom. Meanwhile, he wants an Arc de Triomphe. It's weird. And the Fed is trying its best to prop up Trump by printing funny money to goose the economy. Will it work? Will it crash things? I mean, there's a lot going on. Today is also Bill of Rights Day. It's an important observance. It recognizes the adoption of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. It was interesting. I remember back in 1996 or 7 or whatever the year was when we moved to Vermont, and we bought this old house that had a carriage house attached to it, kind of a small garage, too small for a car, big enough for a horse. And there was an attic over it, and in the attic I found, in terrible shape, a whole bunch of old magazines from the 1920s and a complete set of the collected works of Thomas Jefferson, published in 1909. on the anniversary of his leaving the presidency, and read it. I spent the next year reading them, and because I just retired, and we had sold an ad agency and moved to Vermont. And there was this fascinating correspondence between him and James Madison, where Jefferson was saying, we have to have a Bill of Rights. And he specified what he wanted in it. And all of the things he wanted, except for a ban on corporate monopolies, made their way into the Bill of Rights. But Madison was saying, no, you don't need that. I mean, Congress will pass these things. We should just leave this to Congress. And by the way, most of these things are obvious. And Jefferson was like, I don't care how obvious it is. Future generations won't remember our conversations. We've got to write this stuff down. And Jefferson prevailed. He in fact, he threatened. He said, I'll talk to the Virginia ratifying committee, and Virginia will not vote to ratify the convention if you don't promise to include a Bill of Rights. Now, the Bill of Rights wasn't attached until a year or so later. I think it was 1791, but maybe even 93. I'm not sure the year, but anyway, here we are. It's Bill of Rights Day. Brown University. There's so much to go through here. Brown University students, we had another mass shooting there. Trump and Kash Patel came out and said, we got the guy. Turns out they didn't get the guy. They got their so-called person of interest, and they let him go today because he wasn't the guy. So now they're back to square one, and the local police are like, the FBI is screwing this whole thing up. But this was the 465th mass shooting this year in the United States. 465th. And, obviously, just as our founders intended, right, as Jeff Tiedrich points out. A Brown University student, Zoe Weissman, said, mentally, I feel like I'm 12 again. Why did she say that? Because that's how old she was when she survived a mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. She said, my experience is so important because it shows no one is safe from this until our congresspeople actually decide to do something and care about children, care about their constituents, care about people in this country. This will continue to happen, and there'll be more people like me who have survived several school shootings. J.D. Vance came out and said he's thinking and praying for the victims. And she said, that's laughable. She said, if he actually cared about us, they were actually praying for us, they actually wanted us to do well, they'd do something to end the gun violence in this country. And she's absolutely right. Another student at Brown University, Mia Tretta, survived the 2019 mass shooting at Saugus High School in Santa Clarita. She said, I've not been the same person that I was that day, and I won't be ever again. Emma Riddle was a freshman at Michigan State University where she survived that mass shooting, and she was also at Brown University. So Trump's response to this, Brown University, great school. Things can happen. Yeah, things can happen. I mean, this is like the second time he said this. Things happen. The old "as happens" thing. It's just, the reality is that the Republican Party and the Republicans on the Supreme Court are more interested in the health of the gun industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry that pours rivers of money into the Republican Party. They're far more interested in that industry than they are in our children. We're the only country in the world that regularly has mass shootings. Literally, and this was the 465th mass shooting today. And we're the only country in the world that regularly has school shootings. Why? Because we're the only country in the world that has twice as many guns as people. I mean, even war areas don't have more guns than people, but we do. And why? Because the gun industry wanted to make a whole crap load of money. Meanwhile, Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were murdered in their home, apparently by their son Nick. I didn't know Rob Reiner well. Louise and I had dinner with him and Michelle at the home of Lynn and Norman Lear some years ago. And it was a fascinating dinner. Rob was really outspoken. I mean, he'd go on these political tears and just, kind of this kind of booming voice. And but he was a sweet guy and a decent human being. So what does Donald Trump come out with? This is obscene. He said, Rob Reiner has passed away reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness. And with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before, may Rob and Michelle rest in peace. So Trump takes the murder of this, relatively beloved, I mean, certainly as an actor beloved and a director, guy, and makes it all about himself. I mean, he weaponizes the death of a human being to mock them, to turn violence into a joke, essentially celebrating Rob Reiner's death as proof of his own brilliance or something. I mean, this is dehumanization. This is the kind of thing that just destroys empathy. Meanwhile, Trump has now told, or at least the Trump Pentagon, has told the European Union, well, actually, specifically NATO, get ready, we're not going to play with you anymore in 2 years. This is from Reuters. The United States wants Europe to take over the majority of NATO's conventional defense capabilities, from intelligence to missiles, by 2027. Pentagon officials told diplomats in Washington this week. A tight deadline that struck some European officials as unrealistic. Pentagon officials, this is again Reuters, indicated that Washington was not yet satisfied with the strides Europe has made to boost its defense capabilities. The U.S. also contributes capabilities that cannot simply be purchased, like unique intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance that have proven key to the Ukrainian war effort. But, Trump doesn't like NATO because Putin doesn't like NATO. Putin owns Trump. Russia has owned and controlled Trump for years and years and years. And so here we are. It's nuts. And finally, ICE is giving your name to, TSA is giving your name to ICE. Have you gone through an airport recently? I mean, I did. I went up to Washington State last week before last. The TSA is providing immigration and customs official enforcement with the names of all travelers passing through American airports, according to the New York Times. And this is how they arrested that woman from in Boston who was the young lady who was going off to college. She was stopping at home to visit her parents for Thanksgiving. And they arrested her at Boston Airport. Another one at Salt Lake City Airport, another woman who was arrested by ICE because TSA is giving all of our names to ICE. How sweet.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Meanwhile, ICE is compiling an enemies list of people who have criticized them. How's this going to work out? And welcome back, Susie in Willits, California. Hey, Susie, what's on your mind today?
Greetings, Tom. Just the mass shootings and how the media doesn't really say what's going on. Mm. And, like if it's a white male, it's a mental condition. If it's a male from other ethnic groups, it's the whole group.
Or it's terrorism, yeah.
I don't understand that dichotomy.
Well, it's the racism that's based into our society popping up in media.
Yeah, and you know what? I really get mad when I hear the media say, a person of interest or whatever. You know what? All the males are doing this. You don't see females doing mass shootings. Yeah. Because we care about life. Yeah. We are life.
Which is why women should be running the country.
Exactly. So I'm just saying that, men, can you imagine if women were doing 400 mass shootings a year? Wow, the males would come after us and kill us.
Oh, that's an interesting point. If the shoe was on the other foot, because these mass shootings are not reported as a male-female issue.
Never.
Yeah. Or for that matter, they're not typically characterized as a white person. I mean, it's not just males; it's white males who do 99% of the shootings. I mean, occasionally a black guy will do one or two, but that's that's the exception that proves the rule.
Like males, 18 to 24, they're all in that category that do these mass shootings. But then they're all, well, they have mental problems, and
right.
They do have mental
Let's have
problems.
some empathy. I get it, Susie. Excellent point. Thank you for the call, and thanks for making it. And happy holidays. Alfredo in Mountain View, California. Hey, Alfredo, what's up?
Hey, good morning, Tom. Hey, thank you for pointing out the association with eating animals and climate change. That was really, really good in your program. Anyway, I was calling because I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se, but what do you think about this? Trump's tariffs, and I think the reason why Trump loves these tariffs so much is not because he wants to bring money to the country as much as you have Scott Bessent in there, and he's going to replace the Fed, I believe on May of next year. Mm-hmm. These guys are skimming billions of dollars out of these tariffs. That's my take. But what do you think about that?
I think it's going to be a disaster. And I think much of the rest of the world thinks it's going to be a disaster. We've also crossed over to the point where we're now borrowing money to pay interest on the national debt, which is borrowed money. So when you start borrowing money to pay interest on borrowed money, you're in trouble. Yeah. And this is 100% of the national debt can be attributed to three major Republican tax cuts: the Reagan, the Bush, and the Trump tax cuts. 100% of it. And
I understand all that, but I think Trump, knowing what a conman he is, these guys are scheming and stealing billions of dollars from these tariffs. That's my take, but I cannot prove it. But
no, I absolutely agree. And now the Fed is doing QE. They're doing quantitative easing. They're buying treasuries. This just started. They had been selling them ever since Biden came into office. So you sell treasuries, you depress the economy. They started that when Biden came into office. You buy treasuries, you stimulate the economy. They started that this last week.
Yeah, and I know the cycle.
It's all for Trump. Alfredo, thanks for the call. We'll be right back, 20 minutes past the hour. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Way back in 1964, when Lyndon Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Republicans started this rant about how the election of 1960, Jock Kennedy stole that election, and there's voter fraud in America. And it became a thing. They started this thing called Operation Eagle Eye. William Rehnquist was running it in Arizona, trying to intimidate Hispanics and African Americans into not voting, essentially. They have now used this claim that non-citizens are voting, this voter fraud claim, in virtually every red state to make it harder to vote, to purge people off the voting rolls, to make people's votes not counted with their exact signature matches. It's a scam. It's a grift that they've been running for 60 years, and the American media won't call them out on it. There's a whole piece about it called Trump and the GOP's Big Lie 2.0 over at HartmannReport.com. Please check it out. You'll find it fascinating.
I was tangled in the headlines, caught up in the noise. The weight of the world had stolen my joys. I grabbed my coat, left my phone behind, told myself it's time to unwind. The city fades as the highway bends, the air turns clean where the pavement ends. Go find your mountain, your valley, your stream, where the air feels lighter and your soul can dream.
That's one of the reasons I did it on Saturday. On Sunday it was raining too much, but on Saturday we went out to Forest Park, the largest urban park in the world, and climbed a mountain. Got well out of breath, went about 2 miles, pretty much straight up, and then back down. So my daily take today over at HartmannReport.com is the morbidly rich's brilliance just a threat to the republic? And it's about this notion that has become the primary animating impulse of the Republican Party, really since the Reagan Revolution. And that's this idea, which is as old as Western civilization, that the morbidly rich are born to rule the rest of us. We have a billionaire as president. We have 13 billionaires in his cabinet. We've got right-wing billionaires installing and spiffing Republican Supreme Court justices. This has become the foundational principle of the GOP. Now, back in the day, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, they had a different rationalization. There's been a series of these rationalizations. The first one was the divine right of kings. God wills it. God wants George III to be king. That's why he's king, don't you know? And then came the scientific revolution, right? From the mid-19th century, Thomas Edison, all the way up to Albert Einstein in the 1950s and 60s. And that shifted as we became more enamored with science and less with religion. That shifted the story from God wills the rich to rule to rich people have superior genes, and therefore they should be in charge of everything. Herbert Spencer, who invented the word eugenics in the late 19th century. No, I'm sorry, it was Francis Galton who invented the word eugenics. Spencer coined the phrase survival of the fittest. Everybody thinks it was Darwin. It wasn't. It was Herbert Spencer. And he argued that there should be no laws or social reforms that would help the poor because that would interfere with the natural process of eliminating the unfit. And today's Republicans continue to embrace that worldview. Francis Galton, Darwin's cousin, invented the word eugenics, and we had both Woodrow Wilson and Winston Churchill embracing eugenics, which then became the foundation of the Nazi Holocaust. And it's worth noting, by the way, that Darwin never embraced survival of the fittest or eugenics. Instead, he talked about the idea of cooperation in nature, as my old friend David Loy repeatedly pointed out in his books and lectures. Then came the now discredited libertarian experiment, and that was kicked off with the Reagan Revolution, Ayn Rand, Milton Friedman. And now today we've got this brand new excuse for why the rich should rule America, and that's the dark enlightenment. Elon Musk has pinned to the top of his social media account, either the suicidal empathy of Western civilization ends or Western civilization will end. And this is the belief that democracy is basically mob rule, and that morbidly rich people should be running the country because their riches demonstrate their intelligence, and their intelligence is what gives them the right to rule. And you've got, the people like Nick Land and Curtis Yarvin and J.D. Vance, spouting this kind of crap. Peter Thiel saying, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. The bottom line is that we are wired for democracy. I've told you the story many times. I won't repeat the whole thing about, the Conrad and Roper's science at Essex University, where they found that in nature, they were looking at red deer, but it's whether it's flocks of birds or schools of fish, everybody votes. Democracy is how decisions are made, from insects to birds to fish to mammals. Democracy provides the best outcomes. When you have the largest number of people involved in decision making, you get the best outcomes. And we've got the opposite of that right now. We've got this small group of billionaires making all the decisions, deciding who's going to be on the Supreme Court, deciding who's going to be able to run for political office because they fund the elections, deciding who's going to be president, and a singular president deciding to put billionaires in his cabinet. This is dangerous stuff. This has put the United States on a very precarious path. And we need to get ready for the next election in 11 months and get out there and vote them out.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann program. Call 202-808-9925.
Because rule by the rich is just as destructive as rule by warlords or rule by kings. Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance, or our welfare or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free healthcare, or low-cost college or healthcare, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you. Did you know that every weekday we send out an email before the show giving you all the topics coming up so you can be fully informed and ready to interact with our program? Or that after the show we send out Sue's Stack, a list of every topic I've discussed along with clickable hot links to every source of information I've shared with you on the air? It's all completely free and available over at thom.tv, THOM.tv. Check it out.
They told us this was nature from the moment we were born. Some were meant to own the land, some were meant to warn. They crowned the rich with heaven, said God had chose their side. From kings to men in boardroom chairs, it's the same old justified lie. They changed the words, not the plan. Changed the flag, not the throne. Every age finds a new excuse to say the many stand alone. They told us this was nature, that the strong decide the way, that the rest of us should follow and be grateful what we're paid. But the world or a billionaire's decree. Even the wild knows better than to kneel to royalty. They called it genes and destiny, called mercy something weak, said the poor were just a problem, too many mouths that speak. Now they curse the word compassion, call democracy a flaw. But the lie gets thin when power fears the people's common cause. They told us this was nature.
Welcome back, 36 minutes past the hour. And, oh, by the way, the headline over at the Associated Press, Congress races against the clock to avert skyrocketing health care costs for millions. We'll see. Who was right, me or Louise? Will the Republicans, will a handful of Republicans with a wink and a nod from Donald Trump and Mike Johnson join with Democrats and push through a discharge petition in the House to extend the Obamacare subsidies for a year or two? I believe today is the deadline for saying yes or no to your policy, even though it starts on January 1st. Could be wrong on that. Double check that. I'm not on Obamacare. I'm on Medicare, so I don't know. But that's what I've read. I continue to believe that they will do it. That they're not willing to pay that political price next November. Yeah, it'll there'll be some bumbling around over the next couple of weeks if they do pass it, because everything's going to have to be readjusted. But I think they're going to pass it and they're going to claim credit for it. But Louise doesn't think. She's like, no, these guys they're ideologues. This is what they want. They hate Obamacare. They voted 40 some odd times or more to kill off Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. So why would they fund it? And I get that. We'll see. Harold in Santa Barbara. Hey, Harold, what's on your mind today?
Oh, I wanted to wish you a happy Bill of Rights while we still have it.
Indeed, thank you. To the extent that we still have it. Yeah, ICE seems to be ignoring it.
Well, I have to ask you another question, and that is, I'm on your side, not because of the reasons you say, but for the same reasons why the tariff issue. And that is, for example, it's called the Adventist healthcare system. It's run by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Mm-hmm. They already anticipated this, and they raised their prices 4 times higher in anticipation of this move. And what was beautiful, yesterday on a talk show on KPFK, it was in the morning, a caller called in and said he went in because he had a cut that on his foot that kept bleeding. And his bill came out to like $4,000. I don't know. That's an exaggeration. But, yeah, they already knew. But I don't agree with your reasoning. I mean, I'm sorry, your logic behind it. But it's just like the tariffs. They have been at it, and this is where you and I are in agreement, since Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. Ronald Reagan, he started to charge registration fees. Mm-hmm. And I won't say why, I'll just leave it there. But
Reagan ended free college in America. He also largely ended tariffs. And, Trump is bringing them back, but he's bringing them back in the most stupid way possible. But I get your point, Harold, and thank you for the happy Bill of Rights Day. It's a good reminder. Thank you very much.
Bye now.
Yeah. John in Winnemucca, Nevada. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Hi, John. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're John. I'm Tom.
I just wanted to call and
Sure.
Hi, Tom. I just wanted to call in response and posit this to a previous caller, as well as the listeners of the show, about media bias and the importance of looking in the consolidation of media ownership in the United States, particularly who and what message they're trying to spread, and why division is everywhere. If you're on the left, if you're on the right. And I think it's intentional that this division is meant to be kept between us, left and right, so that we can't recognize the enemies that do surround the Trump administration or administrations previously. But more so back to the original topic of media bias and censorship and consolidation.
Yeah, it's dividia de vince, divide and conquer. That's Latin, dividia de vince. It's the oldest strategy. Right. But back to where you wanted to go with that, John.
Right, coinciding with Panamint Circus or circenses, whatever that is, bread and circus.
Yeah.
Right. And that's another thing I wanted to thank you for, is that you provide a platform for anybody, whether they completely align with you or, just to be able to spread their voice. That's a wonderful and incredible thing, having this.
Well, thank you. And in fact, I welcome people who disagree with me. I don't get enough calls from people who disagree with me.
Right. And that's what we're supposed to have, instead of this division of I feel like there's just so much hate between our countrymen right now that is just reaching.
Well, this is from the top down. I mean, this is what we saw, what we're seeing. At Brown University, the mass shooting, it's just all across the country. I mean, we see all these, and this is like Donald Trump, his comments about Rob Reiner. and Michelle Reiner. We're just filled with hate. This is when you've got a guy at the top preaching hate. It spreads across the country. You can't stop that. I mean, it's a natural thing, and we've got an insane hater at the top of our political pile, and it's doing terrible harm to our country.
Right, and he's also normalizing the presence of federal agents ripping people off of the streets, and Republicans are cheering it on because, it's undocumented immigrants or this, that, the other. Mm-hmm. And I mean, under the Biden administration, there was at least 10 to how many million people that came in, 6 million known gotaways. And, there's a lot. I understand how people are upset by that because they feel.
I think the actual estimate for the Biden administration was under 3 million, well under 3 million. Trump exaggerates like crazy. There were millions of arrests, millions of people who were stopped at the border and turned back. But the estimate of the people who actually snuck through is much lower. But whatever it is, it's collapsed to almost nothing now under Trump because people are just afraid to come.
Right, which is unfortunate because we create our government has created the conditions for those people to have to leave their countries in the first place, and that's something that a majority of Americans can't establish or examine for themselves. If I was in any of those countries that we had sanctioned or bombed the hell out of, I would absolutely be over.
The damage
on top of the pile, so to speak.
I'm with you. This is the damage that Ronald Reagan and Ollie North did to Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador back in the day, back in the 80s, and it came back to haunt us. It's also, I mean, if you look at a chart of immigration into the United States, it always spikes when a Democratic administration begins, but it's got nothing to do with Democratic administration policies because they never change policies. The spike has to do with Republican media, principally Fox News, as soon as a Democrat comes into office, starting to scream about illegal immigration and saying that the border is wide open, which causes people from the South to think that it's wide open. John, I got to run.
Listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
45 minutes past the hour. Back with more of your calls in just a minute. Stay with us. And welcome back, Dave in Federal Way, Washington. Hey, Dave, what's on your mind today?
Hey, not too much, Tom. This divisiveness, it's by design.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
I mean, anytime you're trying to, every authoritarian regime ever since time immemorial, divisiveness is necessary to keep power and control in the hands of the few.
Yeah, divide et vince.
Yeah, and the thing is what I wanted to mention is I remember the first time someone acknowledged Trump's, on CNN. It was acknowledged on the mainstream media that Trump had connections to Russia, and it was by Rudy Giuliani. It wasn't by any liberal. Rudy Giuliani acknowledged it. I mean, I've been yakking about it for years, and here's me and other people. But here's the thing: is how did Giuliani mention it? He said that that Trump is acting responsibly as a potential president. He is keeping a backdoor diplomatic channel open to a major U.S. adversary, Russia, right? A potential adversary, Russia. And here's the thing, Ukraine is decided that they don't require NATO membership for peace. Right. All right, they've backed off of that demand.
Yeah, yesterday.
But they're demanding a security guarantee, a legal, some sort of legal,
which basically
guarantee.
Reads like NATO Article 5. Yes.
Yeah, and and also they say they want membership in the European Union. I'm sure that's for economic reasons more than anything else.
Of course.
But the thing is I, based on that pattern, I can't help but wonder if Trump, this intrigue, Vladimir Putin's a very smart man, right? And what he's done, what they've done is they've analyzed that Trump has a fetish, for lack of a better word, a fetish about this intrigue, this intrigue behind the scenes. And I can't help but wonder if Trump hasn't promised to disassemble NATO. I mean, because that's the only reason I can.
Oh, I think so. That's why the Pentagon came out, a couple of days ago and said that, we're not going to be supporting you guys past 27.
Well, yeah, and I can make this simple. One of my favorite callers, I'm sorry, I forget his name right now, but he calls into you. He reads Pravda. He speaks Russian. He was an
George in
analyst
Cripple Creek.
George, yeah, sorry, George. Sometimes I forget. I'm bad with names. But George mentioned the other day that Russia is talking about using tactical nuclear weapons. See, and this brings me to my main point in what I've been saying. Militaries go, especially under distress, when the plan falls apart, they go back to muscle memory. All military establishments do it. They go back to muscle memory. Russia has been practicing the use of tactical nuclear weapons for at least 20 years that I can remember. And here's the thing is, tactical nuclear weapon, the death of poor people, the irradiation of people the oligarchs consider inconsequential, people fighting for reasons that they cannot comprehend or have no idea. That's the world Trump and these oligarchs, for lack of a better term, that's what they want to bring us back to.
Yeah, absolute chaos. Yeah, I agree, Dave. And it works to the benefit of Putin. I mean, pretty much everything Trump has done, at least with regard to foreign policy, has worked to the benefit of either President Putin, President Xi, or the murderous dictators of the Middle East. I mean, it's just, and they're all spiffing him. It's wild. It's 49 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with you in 1 minute. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. So between his tax cuts and crashing the debt ceiling and shifting billions of Treasury dollars into crypto and tariffs and all this other stuff, Trump is threatening to crash our economy. And he doesn't seem to be particularly worried about that. Why would that be? Well, first off, economic disasters are great excuses to cut taxes. Both Reagan and George W. Bush used recessions as their excuse to stimulate the economy by cutting trillions from the taxes of billionaires. Secondly, economic crises increase the tolerance for strongman governments. Hitler rode to power in Europe based on the Great Depression. And third, billionaires make a fortune when there's a market crash because they can buy all the stock that average people are trying to unload from their 401ks to pay the damn rent. There's a whole article about this that lays the whole thing out over at HartmannReport.com. It's titled Crashing the Economy, Trump's Blueprint for Power and Profit. Check it out.
Set your coffee down, grab a chair. The airwaves are electric with civic care. This ain't just chatter or headline noise. It's your chance to speak, to claim your voice. Whether you're mad or mildly amused, there's a nation of folks who refuse to snooze. Get your questions ready, don't hold back. Whether it's taxes or train tracks, ask why the oceans keep rising high, or why billionaires own half the sky. From student debt to the minimum wage, to how we keep justice from lock in a cage. It's your mic, your turn, no need to rehearse. Just maybe skip the alien stuff, unless it's Interstellar Nurse Union.
Up next is, at the top of the hour, in the next hour, is Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State, a Democrat, member of the Progressive Caucus, the ranking Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. For the hour, taking your calls. So, if you want to get in line, the number is 202-808-9925. Tom in Celebration, Florida. Hey, Tom, thanks for listening to Sirius XM. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. I'm doing great. I would just bear with me for a minute because I know I wander. But I just want to give everyone a perspective of, what I have experienced over my 59 years being here. I was on hold with Stephanie this morning, and I was going to talk about addiction because I know all about it. Back in 2020 when actually I'm going to skip that. I want to announce my movement, and I'm hoping that others will see what I'm trying to say.
Tom, what's the point you're trying to make here?
I know who I am. It took me May of 2021 to get me on this journey to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. Are you speaking to Rob Reiner being apparently killed by his his son, who is a drug addict and apparently mentally ill?
Yes, it's addiction. It's my movement is my intentions are to run for president. I know I sound crazy because I'm on the radio and it's hard to focus.
Yeah, no, I get that, Tom, and I appreciate it, and I wish you the very best, and thanks for bringing this to our attention. Don in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Hey, Don, what's on your mind?
Hi. Well, I was saddened to see not only in Brown, the shooting there, but in Australia.
Yeah.
Australia that worked so hard after the mass shooting down in Tasmania in 1996, and who had really serious policies. And of course, they haven't had any other mass shootings. So this is the first one.
No, there was one other one about 4 years ago, but it was much smaller. It was like 6 people. And Louise and I have spent a lot of time on Bondi Beach. Some of our very closest friends, Alex and Rose, a Jewish couple, actually, is a lot of Jewish people who live in that area, had a condo just, 1 block off the beach. And they had a guest room. We used to stay with them whenever we went to Australia. This was like 20 years ago. And it's a beautiful area.
Yeah, well, that brings, speaking of Jews, when I was in my early 20s, I lived in Ecuador, and I was hitchhiking back to Quito one time, and this old guy pulls over and picks me up. Turns out this was, say, 73, he was a German Jew. He had to leave Germany in 1933. He and his wife applied to every country and colony on the face of the earth. The only one that would take him was Ecuador.
Whoa.
So they moved to Ecuador. And, he was a nice guy, but I knew a little more about history than the average American kid, and I pointed it out. I said, well, gee, 33, a Jew wouldn't have to leave in 33. A communist would have had to leave. And he said, yes, I was a member of the Communist Party. His entire family, his and her, she was from Italy, and both of their families were all killed. Now, in Italy, that's a little strange, because the Italians didn't cooperate very much with the Germans on killing Jews. They were fabulous. He invited me. They spoke 5 languages at the dinner table. He was, he had owned a couple factories. He'd gone more capitalistic, but they were decent, fine people. And he had Jung, Freud, and Adler for professors at the University of Vienna. He said they were in the last year or two of their careers.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So.
Yeah. Yeah,
but you never know where you're going to run into, it.
Yeah, and this slaughter on Bondi Beach is. I hope it doesn't push Australia to go crazy right, because they do have very good gun control laws there as a result of that 1996 Port Arthur massacre in Tasmania. You're absolutely right, and it has solved much of the country's gun problems. They were having mass shootings every year prior to that. And the 96 one was the one that kind of pushed them over the top.
They have a kind of similar sociological, just having been a frontier country and beating off
no, it's a
original
lot of
people and all that
parallels.
stuff.
Yeah, a lot of parallels. Don, I got to run, but thanks for the call. Nice to hear from you. What a great story. We'll be back with Congressman Adam Smith, Democrat from Washington State, taking your calls for the hour. Stay with us.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance, or our welfare or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free health care, or low-cost college or health care, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you. Hey there, sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, welcome to the second hour of our program. On the line with us is Congressman Adam Smith. He's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. He represents the 9th District of the state of Washington, and has for quite a number of years. Prior to that, he was prosecutor for Seattle and the youngest state senator in the country, I think, at 25 in Washington State. AdamSmith.house.gov is his website. It's also his Blue Sky handle. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate you having me on. It's good to see you again.
It is great having you. We had reached out to you a week or so ago to see if you had the opportunity to come on and talk about the Venezuelan boat attacks and the murder on the high seas. I understand that as the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, you're one of the few people who actually saw this double tap video. Do I have that right?
Yes, that is correct. We were briefed last week. Just, the top four, HASC and SASC, House Armed Services, Senate Armed Services, and then the Intel folks. So it's a small group. Now, we have pushed to get that video and briefing for the full House Armed Services Committee, which we are still negotiating over, but may well happen tomorrow. And it's a very disturbing thing to see. And I hope people realize it's not just about this one double tap strike, as they're calling it. It's about the entire program of doing these boat strikes in Latin America without congressional approval and without, frankly, a clear policy behind them.
So I've heard this particular one, though, described as, in fact, one of the news reports said that one of the people in the room, the first time it was played, had to leave because he thought he might vomit. I mean, you want to tell us what,
Sure.
prepare us for this?
Yeah, I mean, to each their own on that, I guess. I mean, you don't, you see it just a flash, just like the other boat strikes that have happened, which they've sent out videos on. But the two things to keep in mind about this. One is the particular facts of this video. Yes, you see two people, clinging to a capsized boat. It's just the bow of the boat that is above water. You can't tell how much of the boat remains below the water. It kind of looks like it's at least split in half, but it's conceivable that the whole boat is still beneath the water. But they're clinging to a side of a boat that's about the size of maybe a little bigger than a dining room table. So that's where they are. They are not armed. They do not have communications devices. They take their shirts off at one point for some reason. And so it's very disturbing to see something that looks like a classic definition of shipwreck survivors then being subject to a lethal strike. But perhaps more disturbing is the reasoning behind that strike. And that reasoning is that President Trump has designated these 24 narcotics trafficking groups as terrorists. And therefore, anyone belonging to them or affiliated with them is a legitimate target for lethal force. That's an incredible expansion of presidential authority without any congressional approval. But second, if they have drugs in their possession, that makes them more of a legitimate target, because the rationale behind the second strike is the people ordering the strike conceived that it was possible that the drugs had somehow survived that first strike that we've all seen and were underneath this tiny portion of the boat that remained floating capsized in the ocean. And it was possible these two people in a boat that they no longer control. It was floating with the tide. It was going to go where the current took it. Somehow they could continue their mission and deliver these drugs to wherever they were supposed to deliver them.
Sounds bizarre.
Yeah, that's just an unbelievable. But the thing that we think about this is the expansion of power that this gives to the president to be judge, jury, and executioner, to have the death penalty for anybody involved in drug trafficking at his sole discretion without congressional authority. And I know there's a lot that can be said about the global war on terror, what we did after 9/11 in Afghanistan and Iraq, but there was a heck of a bigger rationale for that, given 9/11 and given a couple of different congressional approvals, than there were on this. This is the president trying to expand his power.
Yeah, well, he has apparently expanded his power. I mean, do you expect there will be a pushback?
Yeah, wrong word.
Yeah. I'm also curious, and I'll leave it at this because I know that our listeners have questions, and they'll probably cover all the questions that I would otherwise be asking. But this week is the last opportunity to extend the ACA credits, and I've been theorizing that this discharge petition, one of the discharge petitions, will make it through the House, and that a few Republican senators will hold their nose and vote for it, and Trump will sign it just because the GOP doesn't want to be, held responsible for people's ACA rates going through the roof. My wife, who is very knowledgeable about these things, thinks that the Republicans are going to stick with their "we hate Obamacare, we ain't doing nothing here." I'm curious your thoughts on how this is going to play out.
I think it's 50-50 between those two scenarios. The Republicans are trying to cobble together their own plan. I doubt that will be successful. What the moderates want, what their conservative members want, I don't see them getting to agreement. So most likely we do go with one of the three Republican discharge petitions that's on the table. And I think we'll pass that. But once it gets to the Senate, that's where the coin flip comes up, because you need 60 votes. So going to need more than a handful of Republican senators to be willing to do that. But let us also remember that Mike Johnson kept us out of session for 2 months when we could have been negotiating and working this out long before we get to the point where, what is it now, December, what date, 15th, something. Yeah. So we're literally 16 days from the expiration of these credits. And now all of a sudden the Republicans are trying to cobble something together after we begged them for weeks, for a couple of months, to engage on this crucial issue. And they flat refuse to do so.
Yeah, it's grim. All right, shall we pick up some calls?
Absolutely.
All righty. Andre in Chicago, you are on the air with Congressman Adam Smith.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tom, and good afternoon, Congressman Adam Smith. Very quickly, I've been watching TV for a long time, and years ago on something's on the television, they used to say these are not the views and opinions of Channel 7. Well, I'm looking at all of this stuff that's being said by Donald Trump, but there's never no disclosure from the station that's saying this is not their views and ideas. I want to know, can you work on something like that and make it happen? And lastly, can you explain what this healthcare savings account? I think the healthcare savings account is a sham. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
Let me take the second part first. Yeah, healthcare savings accounts as some sort of solution to healthcare is absolutely a sham. What it does is it gives people pre-tax dollars to pay for their healthcare. And it helps a little bit, but it doesn't address the issue of being able to buy the insurance that people need. And this is one of the more troubling talking points that Trump and the Republicans have stumbled across. They've attacked the ACA saying, oh, this is just money that goes to insurance companies. Insurance companies are bad, therefore the ACA is bad. This is troubling because people have to have health insurance. The nature of healthcare is, unless you're really wealthy, you're not going to be able to have enough money to make sure that you can pay for all contingencies. You wake up and find someone in your family has cancer, or they get in an accident, or any of 100 different other diseases. You are not going to have enough health savings accounts to cover that. You need health insurance. So for the Republicans to be talking about health insurance as something that we could just do away with is troubling. But then they don't want to regulate health insurance. I don't think we should have for-profit health insurance. I also think that we should have a universal access system so that everybody is covered and people aren't stuck on the outside. Those are reforms of healthcare insurance that would help. But them just saying, no, do health savings account, give the people the money, let them pay for their healthcare. That's not going to work. So we need a more comprehensive reform. And let me say, I think we need more than just ACA tax credit extension. I mean, we need that right now, because if we don't do it, people are going to be, priced out of the healthcare market. But we need more comprehensive reform than that. On the first point, news has become more partisan. We got rid of the fairness doctrine. Now people can say whatever they want. They don't have to, move away from those views. I don't know there's a lot we can do about that right now, except fight back and make sure that our message gets out and that we don't let the far right occupy so many of the communication spaces like they have for the last 10 or 20 years. I mean, I go on Newsmax and One American News and Fox and whatever podcast I can to try to make sure that the opposite view is heard. At this point, that genie's out of the bottle. We're just going to have to fight on that front and make sure we get our message out.
There you go. Congressman Adam Smith is with us for the hour, taking your calls in a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. He's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, represents Washington State's 9th District. We'll be back with your calls, more of your calls, for Congressman Adam Smith in just a second. Stay with us.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
16 minutes past the hour. Back with more of your calls for Congressman Smith in just a moment. And welcome back. Louise in Seattle, you are on the air with Congressman Smith.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. Congressman, 53 days from today, on February 4th, 2026, the New START agreement between Russia and the United States to limit the number of deployed nuclear weapons is going to expire. This coming Wednesday, the 17th, Friends Committee on National Legislation is asking people to call Congress people all over the country to urge the extension of that treaty. And I'm urging you today to make that come up. It's not with all the other issues. It certainly doesn't seem to be high, on the list of concerns. So what will you do?
Yeah, I'm actually already a co-sponsor. Sadly, I think I'm one of only 24 members who's a co-sponsor of a bill to ask for that extension of the New START treaty. It's a major problem, and you're right. It has sort of slipped behind a whole bunch of other issues that are important. But as you see, China is a rising nuclear power. We now have 3 countries in Russia, China, and the U.S. who have massive nuclear arsenals, and the 3 groups are not really, 3 countries aren't talking to each other. I just did a CODEL to China, 3 months ago. Sorry, congressional trip with congressional members. Congressional delegation is what CODEL stands for. And that was one of my big talking points when I was over there with Chinese leadership. We have to start talking. We have to negotiate a treaty. Yes, nuclear weapons are a necessary deterrent for all 3 countries, but if we are not talking and limiting the number of those and the delivery mechanisms, we run the risk of a dangerous miscalculation and stumbling into a nuclear confrontation. So, yeah, we need those treaties extended. We need to negotiate beyond those treaties as well.
David in Columbus, Ohio, listening on WGRN. You're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Hi, Congressman. My issue is defense spending. I've had that issue for a long, long time, and I've always called my representatives and I said, why are you spending so much on this stuff? We don't use it. As a former member of the Army, I know how that money's wasted, and it seems like it's off the table. Not any of the candidates mention it. Nobody mentions it. And there's plenty of ways we can reduce costs. Nuclear proliferation hasn't been even discussed hardly. Right. So and it goes along with foreign policy. So what can we do to reduce it?
Great. Thank you for getting the question.
I mean, two separate issues there. One is how are we spending the money that we're spending at DOD? And that we need to do a heck of a lot better than we're doing. There's absolutely no question about that. We've been working for, about a decade now to get them to be able to pass an audit. We have these massive, expensive programs that go way over budget. All of that needs to be reformed. I've been working on it. We passed a massive piece of acquisition reform just last week here to try and get after those issues. The second issue is on the size of the defense budget. And the defense budget as a percentage of GDP is actually lower than it's been since the end of World War II. We haven't actually seen a dramatic increase. In fact, we've seen just the opposite. Now, most of this is because, at the end of World War II, there was no such thing as Medicare or Medicaid. A whole bunch of other programs have been added that have taken portions of the GDP. But I think it also points to the fact that defense spending hasn't really been going up that dramatically. Now, I'm not in favor of the massive increases that a lot of people.
We're hitting the break here, Congressman. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's 20 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. Bye-bye. Back in 1 minute. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through. Hey, what if I... Did you know that the ancient Roman Republic, which for 480 years was actually a democratic republic before Julius Caesar kind of ended the democracy phase and replaced it with the autocracy phase, that they were brought down by a very small group of very rich people. The richest man in ancient Rome was Marcus Licinius Crassus. He was the richest guy, the billionaire of Rome. And he frankly hated the Roman free bread for all welfare system. It was being paid for with his tax dollars, after all. So him and Pompey the Great and a few other rich guys got together, and they basically crashed Rome. They turned it into an oligarchy and then into a tyranny. And the parallels to what Trump is doing right now are absolutely shocking. There's an article about it over at HartmannReport.com titled American Caesar, Trump's Path to Power Mirrors Rome's Darkest Days. Check it out. 20 21 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Congressman Adam Smith is with us for the hour, taking your calls in a National Progressive Town Hall meeting. Dave in Buffalo, New York. You're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Congressman Tom, thank you. Before, when W said that he was pulling the inspectors out of Iraq, and then the next day he said Saddam kicked them out, I knew we were going to war, and he became a criminal at that moment. F him. Sir, Congressman, every 80 years there's a progressive movement in our country, and it's 80 years now. And without the general, other than these regular statements like Medicare for all and raising the cap, what other signing statements in your way will you be putting a stamp on our progressive movement next year?
I think there's two big aspects to it. One is economic opportunity and how wealth has become concentrated and too many people are struggling to pay their bills, number one. And number two is a basic renewal of liberal democracy. I think liberal democracy is under profound threat right now. We've moved more and more towards a totalitarian way of discussing issues, and we've seen Trump disobeying the law in place after place. So one big thing is just, recapturing the basic idea of representative democracy and figuring out how to make sure that it doesn't become the concentrated power in the hands of Donald Trump or any other executive. But on the progressive side, I don't know about the 80 years thing, but there's been three very successful progressive movements. At the turn of the 20th century with Teddy Roosevelt, we had the effort that gave us the income tax. It gave us the Fair Labor Standards Act, no child labor, antitrust laws. Then Franklin Delano Roosevelt obviously had the New Deal, and Lyndon Johnson had the Great Society with Medicare, Medicaid, the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act. I think we need a new renewal of that, and it needs to be focused on economic opportunity. And part of that is getting a fairer distribution of wealth. We need a more progressive tax system, and we need a better healthcare system, as I mentioned earlier, access to childcare, education, job training. I think we need an entire renewal of that. The basic framework of the Build Back Better plan during the Biden administration, I don't love everything about that, including the name, but that idea that we're going to bring down costs for average people and also make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share, that's what this next progressive movement needs to look like. And in 26, Democrats campaigning for Congress need to do that. 28, as we move to the presidential, I think this is our opportunity to have another progressive movement along the lines of those three that I just mentioned.
Greg in Minneapolis, you're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Hi, gentlemen. I am interested in this Venezuelan boat drone strike thingies. All the attention's been on this double tap thing in September. And their argument was, well, they still were carrying drugs or whatever. But then in October, they had a drone strike, and they did rescue 2 people. And they ended up releasing them. And I'm curious, what was the difference between that drone strike and the one in September?
Yeah, what they have said is that those 2 people in October were floating in the ocean. They were not, the cocaine was not still close to them. That doesn't really make sense because, again, in the September 2nd strike, the boat had capsized and been set on fire, split, I think, in half, capsized. Were there still drugs on that? Hard to say. But second, even if there were drugs there, they were in no position to, quote, complete their mission. They were floating on wreckage with no control over it, no ability to communicate it and communicate with anybody, and no hope in sight. Look, I mean, the thing to remember about this is what I said earlier. You can get into sort of the ins and outs of the rules of when lethal force is allowed. The entire operation is not legal and not justifiable. There's no congressional authorization, and there's no imminent threat to the lives of people in our country. The drugs in question here on that September 2nd strike weren't even headed to the United States. They were headed to a transshipment point and probably off to West Africa or Europe. So the entire operation isn't legal. And understand one big point. This is all about Trump wanting to expand his power. That is the through point on everything he's doing. Sending troops to our U.S. cities to enforce domestic law, the way he is using ICE, the way he is not spending money as was congressionally intended, heck, knocking down the East Wing of the White House. Everything he does is about pushing aside the law and putting his power front and center.
sorry. Sorry to, that should have been very brief. Yeah, Congressman, well said. Thank you very much. It's 27 minutes past the hour. We've got about a 5-minute break here, Congressman, and we'll pick up on the other side as our local stations go to local news and commercials, and our nonprofit stations carry a book report. We'll be right back with Adam Smith, Congressman Adam Smith.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann program. Call 202-808-9925.
We'll be right back with more of your calls for Representative Adam Smith. Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance, or our welfare or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free health care. or low-cost college or health care, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you. Share the Thom Hartmann program with your friends. Our podcast, The Hartmann Report, is absolutely free and available wherever fine podcasts are available. And the entire 3-hour podcast is available over at thomhartmann.com. Donald Trump lost, voter suppression won in 2024. That's the headline over at hartmannreport.com. And just a brilliant article written by Greg Palast, exclusively for The Hartmann Report. He writes, Trump lost. That is, if all legal voters were allowed to vote, if all legal ballots were counted, Trump would have lost the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Vice President Kamala Harris would have won the presidency with 286 electoral votes. And if not for the mass purge of voters of color, if not for the mass disqualification of provisional and mail-in ballots, if not for the new mass vigilante challenges in swing states, Harris would have gained at least another 3.5 million votes, topping Trump's popular vote tally by 1.2 million. Greg brings us the numbers. He lays it out. You can read it over at hartmannreport.com. Absolutely free. It's titled Trump Lost, Vote Suppression Won at hartmannreport.com. Check it out. Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. On the line with us, Congressman Adam Smith, a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the head Democrat over on the House Armed Services Committee, taking your calls for the hour. And John in Silversdale, Washington. You're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm curious to know why no one is addressing the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that the top 5 insurance companies with healthcare insurance made $28.3 billion in profit in 2024. And that's after paying out hundreds of millions of dollars of executive payout. Why do we need premium increases, number one? And why is our tax dollars subsidizing this industry?
I did address that actually earlier. One of the things I said that we need to do about reforming health insurance is we need to get rid of for-profit health insurance. It's simply incompatible. And the reason we're subsidizing it is because people do need help to make sure that they have health care, that they can pay for insurance. People pay premiums on Medicare for that matter. So we need to make sure that people can access health care. And somebody has to pay the bill for that. I don't have a problem with health insurance. I think it's a necessity. I have a problem with our health insurance system that allows for-profit health care, allows a system where people are not covered, where, in other words, we don't have a universal access system. And look, there's plenty of models out there. None of this is easy, and this is an important point. But in Western Europe, you look at countries, you have countries with single-payer systems like Great Britain and Canada, but you also have countries with universal access systems that are multi-payer and also have private health insurance. France, Germany, Switzerland, variety of different countries. But you have to be really aggressive about how you regulate it. Look, healthcare is expensive, and we have a demand for healthcare that significantly outstrips the amount of money to pay for it. So every country is going to be dealing with that. It's just that the United States of America deals with it worse than any other country. We pay more on healthcare and more for healthcare in this country, now almost twice as much as any other country in the world on a per capita basis. We consistently rank between 30th and 40th in terms of the results. So we need a reformed system and a universal access system. And yeah, we need to get rid of for-profit health insurance.
Marie, listening to us on Sirius XM in Atlanta, Georgia. You are on the air with Congressman Smith.
Thank you for taking my call, Tom, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with Congressman Smith. Congressman, my call is regarding the most tragic death of Rob Reiner and his wife, which currently is being reported as being at the hands of a drug-addicted son. My concern is that the Trump administration will use this event as some form of further justification for why Democrats are somehow not supportive of them blowing up these the boats that are allegedly carrying drugs. And what I want to do is to arm you with an appropriate response to that, because it's easy to get lost in it. Very simply, many times when someone has an underlying mental health condition, they are treating it with illicit drugs. So the schizophrenics often turn to alcohol, trying to shut off the voices in their brain. The manic depressives, they're using uppers to get up off the emotional ground and using downers to get out of the emotional clouds. My point being, if we are not putting the appropriate resources towards mental health and substance abuse treatment in this country, blowing up every drug boat will make no difference, because those people with underlying conditions left untreated will still have underlying conditions left untreated. That's really all I wanted to say.
Yeah, there's multiple issues at play here. And let's remember, okay, drugs are a huge problem. Drug abuse is a huge problem in the U.S., not just in the U.S. In many countries across the world struggle with this, but the U.S., we certainly do. Now, Trump going out there, as you said, and blowing up a few boats full of cocaine down in Latin America isn't going to have an appreciable impact on that. And what it is going to have an appreciable impact is Trump getting more power to kill people. And not have to follow the law, not have to have the normal checks and balances. As far as the drug problem, I completely agree that the focus needs to be on mental health and drug treatment. We also need to have a greater focus on discouraging people from abusing drugs. And I'm worried that our culture has developed into one that is too accepting of that. You mentioned mental health issues. Yeah, we're concerned about drug abuse, but I can tell you, as someone, I went through a chronic anxiety problem. I finally did 3.5 years worth of psychotherapy here, 7, 8 years ago now, that worked. But, the first solution was to put me on a bunch of drugs, benzodiazepines, a bunch of, antidepressants, different things. So if the solution to all our problems is here, take this drug, and we are over-prescribing, pretty significant medication to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans, we need to discourage people from walking down the road of doing drugs in the first place. I think that's part of the problem, but certainly a full understanding of treatment and mental health is going to do it. This is a much more of a demand problem than it is a supply problem. And that's the fundamental thing that these boat strikes get wrong from a drug policy standpoint. The notion that somehow if you can cut off, you're going to be able to cut off the supply. As long as there's the demand that there is in the United States, you blow up 50 drug boats, there'll be another 500 right behind them, because there is money to be made and there is a demand. That is the part of it that we need to get after, if in fact that's what we're trying to do here. But let's also remember that Trump has a habit of pardoning drug dealers if it suits his political need. So I don't even think that's really what this is about. But if it is, you're right, it will not be effective.
And thank you for sharing your story with us. That's an important one. Rob in Mesa, Arizona, watching on Free Speech TV. You're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Hi, all. Hey, I just wanted to reinforce that I do agree with you on for-profit part of the healthcare industry, because if you got away, just took their profits away, you would save 140 to 210 billion dollars that's currently being paid out in dividends. And I would love to, and I refer to these dividends as death dividends, because health insurance dividends is money that's not going to your procedures, it's money not going to your medications. That's it. And if we can't get them to go for nonprofit status, then that's where, healthcare for all with the government option should be highly pushed. Matter of fact, I would rather see that than the other way around. And, for people who say, well, you can't have the government have that, it's like, well, look, we got the U.S. Postal Service and FedEx and all those people are doing just fine as well. But please refer to it as death dividends.
Sure. The economics of healthcare have always fascinated me because, the basic idea behind a free market, I took a couple economics classes, I always joke, with a name like Adam Smith, what choice did I have? I don't remember the details of the free market argument, except that 4 things had to exist and they never exist. Okay, so basically a free market is a bit of a myth. It's always going to be regulated one way or the other, or someone's going to be taking advantage of it. But when it comes to healthcare, the one thing a free market assumes is a buyer and a seller. Now, they also assume that those two are equal, which they never are, but at least you've got a buyer and a seller. The buyer wants to get a good deal, and so does the seller do, and they balance off of each other. The problem with insurance is because of how expensive healthcare is, and because of the possibility of a catastrophic event that it's going to require you to need more money than you now have to have an insurer. So you've got a buyer, you've got a seller, and you've got a payer. And if you have 3 people in a free market situation, it fundamentally blows the assumptions out of the water, because the provider, the seller, they're going to want to sell whatever they can. The buyer is going to want whatever care they want, and the insurer is going to want to not pay. And that really confuses it, which is why you need a regulated system. You can't simply say, the free market will take care of it. The free market is fundamentally flawed when it comes to healthcare. It's not irrelevant. Incentives do still matter, but you have to understand how perverse those incentives are in a healthcare insurance situation.
Larry in Los Angeles, you're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Hi, I wanted to ask the Congressman if it would be possible for the Democratic Party to get together and start addressing Donald Trump's lies in a coordinated way. For instance, the latest one is that his economy is should be graded as an A+++++++. And the media is not going to address this. They're not going to compare Donald Trump's economy, which lost 2 million jobs to date, to Bill Clinton's, which saw 22 million jobs created. They're not going to talk about the deficits that Donald Trump ran, a 4-fold increase versus Bill Clinton balancing the budget, and Joe Biden and Barack both cutting $1 trillion off the deficit. They're not going to ever do that. So is there a way that you can type up a memo for every member?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, look, there's 2 aspects to this, both of which are complicated and difficult. One is the coalition trying to present a better alternative to Donald Trump. And that coalition is, the good news is it's large. The bad news is it's deeply fractured. We have a lot of different opinions. I, on a daily basis, get everyone from a wide variety of aspects of that telling me, well, you ought to say this, you ought to do that, you ought to do the other thing. So we got to pull together this coalition, even as it represents people with many different opinions. Now, I think we've done a better job of that, particularly in the last 3 or 4 months. The government shutdown really forced a debate about health care, yes, but it also forced the debate about Donald Trump's, just his policies, his approach, his trashing of democracy, his lies. And we've seen the results in a series of elections that have gone the Democrats' way. So we're making progress on that, but it's always going to be a challenge. And the one problem with our coalition is the whole is not as great as the sum of its parts. Each individual aspect of our coalition tends to view the Democratic Party as an entity that they want to force to do what they want it to do. Not as we're part of a coalition, how do we work with everybody to move forward? It's like, this is what I want. My job is to bash the Democrats into making sure they give it to me, as opposed to understanding all aspects of that coalition and how do we row together in the most effective way. But you made a great argument. I've got a friend, Simon Rosenberg, who's got Hopium Chronicles on Substack, who's been making the argument. You look at the economy under Democratic presidents over the last 40 years and under Republican presidents over the last 40 years, it's not even close. It's always better under Democrats. So we have to make that argument. And the other aspect of this is Trump. Look, if Trump is good at one thing, he is great at taking credit for absolutely everything, responsibility for nothing, and blaming his opponents for every bad thing in the world. He does it shamelessly with an unbridled enthusiasm that seems to capture people's imagination for some reason that I will never fully understand. So we are up against a guy who's going to lie as much as he can. He'll take credit for everything, responsibility for nothing. And we got to fight back against that. But now he is in charge. He owns what's going on with the Epstein files. He owns what's going on with health care. He owns what is going on with the lack of affordability in housing and insurance and health care and energy and all of that. And we have to make him own it. Don't let him walk out of this and keep talking about Joe Biden and whatever. He's been president for almost a year now. He is responsible for the decisions he is making, and he is making terrible decisions. And we have to be loud and comprehensive in attacking that.
There you go. 48 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. Remember the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the top Democrat over on the House Armed Services Committee, in just a second. Just stay with us. 48 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
We'll be right back with more of your calls for Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. Stick around. And welcome back. Joe in Seattle, you're on the air with Congressman Smith.
Oh, thank you, Tom and Adam. I'm kind of curious if Adam is aware of deaths in Area 51. It's over 547 veterans that have came down with leukemia. And it personally touched me with a friend of mine who lost his father. Due to you being on the House of Arms and Service Committee, DOD, Department of Defense, do you know of this issue?
I do. Yes, I've met with survivors of that experience. Just so people know, these are areas that were in the middle of some of the nuclear testing, and a lot of what went on for an extended period of time. And a lot of their work was highly classified. And the thing that we're trying to get changed is if you can show that you worked in certain of these areas, you qualify for benefits through, I think it's the VA, could be DOD, could be both. But the problem is these people, they were in such a highly sensitized classified things, their records don't show that they worked there. And so therefore they don't qualify for the benefits. So we are trying to get those records changed so that they can simply accurately reflect the service that these people perform for our country and then get the benefits that they are due. Now, part of the problem is this has and this gets deep into legislative weeds here, but it has a mandatory spending score. And if you're going to increase mandatory spending, you have to find an offset for that mandatory spending somewhere. And those offsets are hard to come by. But I am aware of this issue. It is every little bit as tragic as you described it. You know, people are suffering incredibly high rates of cancer. Their offspring are suffering high rates of cancer in some cases. They deserve to be treated. They deserve to have the service that they perform for our country and for the military recognized, and have their costs of that covered. So we are aware of that issue and working on it. Thank you for raising it.
Wes in Willits, California. Wes, I just have 1 minute and 5 seconds until we hit a hard break here. You got a real quick question, please?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Congressman, why is it that there's never any concessions for Democratic leaders the way Republicans demand concessions with their leaders? I remember when Kevin McCarthy was being sworn in as leader, they demanded lots and lots of concessions with him, but when Hakeem Jeffries was made leader, the progressives did not demand any concessions at all from him.
Let's get the response.
Yeah, well, it depends on the specifics of that. I mean, concessions to do what? I mean, I don't really want to look to Republican leadership as a model for how to do things, where basically they've allowed a series of individuals to hijack the process and render Congress the least effective that it's been in my entire career. So we got to look at what those concessions are and what that leadership is. I want us, if we get back in the majority, to be able to govern effectively as part of a coalition. As I said earlier, each one person wanting everything to be exactly the way they want it means that we fail. So you got to balance those two things. And I think Hakeem's doing a decent job of it right now.
There you go. Congressman Adam Smith is with us for the hour, taking your calls. We'll be back in 1 minute. I've got to read a commercial over on the commercial side. You'll hear a promo on this side, and we'll be back in 60 seconds with more of your calls for Congressman Adam Smith. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. From Los Angeles to Columbia, South Carolina, from Birmingham, Alabama to Baltimore, universal basic income programs are chalking up proof after proof of their viability. Basically just giving people, low-income people, poor people, somewhere between $500 and $1,500 a month, no strings attached, is lifting people out of poverty, getting them back on track, getting them into solid middle-class jobs, helping their children tremendously. This works. Now, we don't have to do UBI in the United States. We're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have a national health care program. Health expenses are whacking a lot of low-income people. We're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have free college education. Education expenses are whacking people. There's a lot we could do. We can subsidize housing. We can subsidize food. We do that with food stamps. We could expand it. There's a lot we could do to benefit from this. There's a whole report about that over at hartmanreport.com. Check it out. Welcome back. 54 minutes past the hour. Coming up here about a minute and a half, 2 minutes in the last hour of the show here, or in this hour. John in Evanston, Illinois. You're on the air with Adam Smith.
Yeah, I think what we need to do is we need to do a war on health care costs. Government pays all. And that'll fit on a bumper sticker or two bumper stickers. And I mean a war. And a war doesn't have a budget. We win the war. We start paying all health care costs, and people will go into the streets and dance like it was the end of World War II.
Certainly worked out that way in Canada back in the 60s, Congressman.
Yeah, that's not quite where I'm at. I want a universal access system. Too many people don't have access to basic health care. But we also spend a lot of money on health care in this country that we really don't need. So think about those statistics that I cited earlier. We spend twice as much money on health care as any other country in the world. And yet we get results somewhere in the 30s, usually, depending on the category. Well, where are we spending that money? Yes, some of this goes to for-profit health insurance. Some of this goes to waste in a bunch of different areas. But also, a lot of it goes to treatments that people don't necessarily need. But if you can get it covered and have health care, the provider's going to want to give it to you. The patient's going to take it. In addition to my chronic anxiety problem, I had a chronic pain problem. I wound up with 3 separate hip surgeries. Not sure I needed any of them, but they were paid for. Health insurance was going to cover it. It's also worth noting that in the U.S., we pay a lot more money for end-of-life care. I'm talking tens of billions of dollars more than these single-payer universal access systems that we on the progressive side of the equation really want. Are we going to keep doing that? Are we going to be able to afford to spend that much money? And is that high quality of life to begin with? If you just always give patients the health care that they think they want, that system is not sustainable. Now, I know what I just said isn't politically popular. It just happens to be the truth. We can't have a healthcare system that says somehow some magical force will pay for absolutely everything that you think you want when you want it. There has to be some regulation of that. My problem with our current system is that we have that regulation. We absolutely ration healthcare in this country, but we do it in a cruel, ineffective way that denies people healthcare based on things that don't make any sense. So I think we need to be realistic, and I'm not in favor of going out there and telling people, vote for me and you're going to have free health care for life and everything's going to be fine. That's sort of Donald Trump's job, is to make big, bold, ridiculous promises that God's he's going to deliver.
There you go. Congressman Adam Smith, adamsmith.house.gov. Congressman, thank you so much for dropping by.
Thanks, Tom. It's always a pleasure. Love your show. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Back at you, sir.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance.
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, Here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge not to our growth, our abundance, or our welfare, or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free healthcare, or low-cost college or healthcare, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, welcome to the third hour of our program. So this is crazy. Well, first of all, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which was created by Congress, literally created by Congress, sued Donald Trump last week, saying that no president can legally demolish the East Wing and start construction without the appropriate permits and public input. And, Adam Smith, Congressman Smith was just talking about how, pretty much everything Trump is doing is about getting more power. And he's right. I mean, this guy thinks of himself as Emperor Trump. He's Emperor Palpatine or whatever. He's the one and only. And he makes everything about, he talks about Rob Reiner this morning. He says, it's because I'm having so much success, right? I mean, and this is another example. They claim that Trump should have submitted the plans to the National Capital Planning Commission and the Commission on Fine Arts. These two are both required to approve any federal construction projects in D.C. That would include demolition, along with the environmental and other reviews and permits. And they also accused Trump of violating the National Environmental Policy Act by proceeding with the demolition without protecting the people who were doing the demolition, the people who were in the White House, and the people who were in the neighborhood from the asbestos and other stuff that was going to come out of this. I mean, this building was built back during the Teddy Roosevelt era when they did, fill buildings with asbestos. So they made a complaint to the D.C. District Court. It says, quote, no president is legally allowed to tear down portions of the White House without any review whatsoever. Not President Trump, not former President Joe Biden, and not anyone else. Trump, of course, thinks he's above the law. So, this is what he's doing. Meanwhile, the Fed has started quietly printing funny money. This is usually a conversation I'm having with our friend Larry from Los Angeles. Excuse me, I sneezed there. But it's a great article about it over on Daily Codes by Money Mark One. And he notes, or she notes, excuse me, the Fed is buying billions in T-bills. Just don't call it QE, right? But that is QE. QE is quantitative easing. And this is when we had the market crash during the COVID pandemic in order to try to bail out the economy and Trump with it. The chairman of the Fed had the Fed buy both stocks and bonds, billions and billions of dollars worth of them. And by creating demand for these products in the marketplace, you drive up their price. And so the stock market stopped crashing and started going back up again. And this is called quantitative easing. When Joe Biden came into office, they shifted. And, Larry's of the opinion that they shifted for partisan reasons, that Jerome Powell has been a lifelong Republican and, he's a professional, a lifelong commercial banker. But, the argument was that, that he did this to support or to harm the Biden administration. And Larry was predicting that they'd be back to QE and predicting funny money, any day now that Trump is in the White House. And sure enough, here it is. The Fed's annual demand for $240 to $300 billion in T-bills will take up between 60 and 75% of the Treasury's issuance of the short-term debt. And this, of course, is going to maintain the price of it. And the Fed is trying QE as a backdoor approach, he notes, to deal with longer-term rates. The problem is, so far, it's not working. The longer rates, the 10-year yield is actually higher right now than lower. The Fed said its target rate it's been cut by 1.75 percentage points in September of last year. And the Apollo Global Management's chief economist, Thorsten Slock, says this is a mystery. This is both contrary to previous Fed cutting cycles starting in 2001, 2007, and 2019, and despite a decline in oil prices, which typically means lower yields. In other words, the Treasury and the Fed are working together to print funny money. And it's not a mystery why cutting rates hasn't affected long-term rates. It's because the enormous tax giveaway in the big ugly bill means new debt issuance, and higher long-term interest rates are going to come out of that because people aren't buying the debt, and so the market demands that the Fed start offering higher interest rates or higher return rates on that debt on treasuries, which drives up interest rates, which then drives inflation. So the government is printing money, It's causing the value of the money to drop, and that increases inflation. And eventually, the bondholders are not, they're going to get caught holding the bag. And all of this is being done to appease this big baby president. And he knows we'll be lucky if all of this with private debt markets doesn't cause a crash. Excuse me. And I agree. We have seen, the crash of 1771 led to the American Revolution of 1776. It led directly to the Boston Tea Party of 1773. The Great Panic of 1857 arguably led to the Civil War. The crash of 1929, the Republican Great Depression that ensued, led to the World War II. There's no doubt about that. I mean, in Germany anyway. And produced a lot of problems here. And each one of those were 80 years apart, and we're 80 years out from the last one, or from the end of World War II. And what happens with these cycles is that typically you have a crash, then you have a war, then you have a progressive renewal. And I don't know, it's going to be real interesting to watch how this thing plays out. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Just keep an eye on it. Robert Reich this morning published his newsletter over on Substack, in which he said, if you have retirement funds or money stashed away, be careful of AI and crypto, that both of these are bubbles. And I completely agree with that analysis. Crypto, I think, there's this frenzy to build out crypto. Well, this is a small handful of very, very wealthy companies competing with each other to see who's going to end up being, the Campbell Soup, who's going to end up being the Google, who's going to end up being the Apple, who's going to end up being the only, the only survivor or the major survivor when it winnows down to just 2 or 3 companies. And so they're throwing all this money at it. A lot of it's borrowed money. Most of it is borrowed money, in fact. And if you look at Moore's Law, every 2 years, the cost of computing is cut in half and the number of transistors is doubled. And Moore's Law applies to AI too. The chips are getting faster and faster and more efficient and using less and less power. And, I think it's just a matter of a couple of years before a lot of this build out of AI infrastructure is going to become unnecessary. And, just like a lot of the build out in the late 1990s, 1997 through 1999, that was done to provide infrastructure for the internet, became unnecessary when we figured out a more efficient way to pass data through the internet. These protocols, of G1, G2, G3, G4, we're up to G5 now. These are just algorithms, basically, that compress data, and they're getting more and more efficient. Well, the same thing's going to happen with AI. Not to mention the fact that the hardware is getting more sophisticated and more efficient. So there's a crash coming, in my opinion, in the AI thing. And then with regard to crypto's a scam. Crypto is basically, it's like the South Sea bubble, the South Sea stock bubble, or the Dutch tulip bubble. It's a commodity, but it's not even a commodity. Nobody can put a crypto coin, a stable coin, on any kind of coin, in your hand. It's not a real thing. It's something that exists only in the cyber world. And, I think eventually people are going to figure this out, that there's no intrinsic value to this stuff. You can only use it to buy things because other people are willing to buy it from you, to accept it. But it's just numbers. It's just math. So I am very concerned that a lot of people are setting themselves up for just an absolute disaster with both crypto and AI. So I agree with Robert Reich and with this writer over on Substack. We are in a precarious moment. So batten down the hatches and get ready. 15 minutes past the hour. I'll pick up your calls on the other side of the break. What's on your mind?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So if AI goes the way of the dot-com crash and at the same time crypto goes, it could be like 1929. And welcome back. George in Creve Coeur, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, Illinois. Hey, George.
Hi, Tom.
How do you say your town? Creve Coeur?
Creve Coeur.
Creve Coeur.
Yes.
Okay. What's up?
Well, I wanted to say two things. One, the free market myth is simply a creation of monopolistic capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, one of the predicates for a free market is perfect information. Everybody on all sides of the transaction has to have perfect information, and that's a precondition that almost never exists in any marketplace.
Exactly, it's a phantom.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the second thing is that hopefully, when the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives and the Senate, that we have they take control over the free riding Supreme Court. During the 19th century, mid-19th century, when there was fight over the legislation, the Civil War amendments, the people decided what was appropriate rather than those few people sitting upon the Supreme Court. And we should have the same right to determine what is appropriate in terms of civil rights. And
Congress has the power to say to the Supreme Court, you may not rule on this. And
yes.
you know, they can regulate the court. They could say you may not rule on money in politics because we're putting down this marker. Now, the most effective way to do that, of course, is with a constitutional amendment that ends the dual doctrine of corporate personhood and speech as money, or money as speech.
Well, also the Congress has the capability of determining the number of people on the Supreme Court.
And they've done that, what, 9 or 10 times in our history, something like that?
Yes, many times, especially, like I say, during the mid-19th century.
Well, when Lincoln was assassinated, there was an opening on the Supreme Court, and Andrew Johnson, who was a slaveholder and a Southerner, became president, and Congress was controlled by the Northern Republicans. And so they said, okay, screw that. We're not going to have Andrew Johnson put somebody on the Supreme Court. So they passed a law reducing the number of members of the court by 1. And then after Johnson got out, they passed another law increasing the number of members of the court.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking of. So I hope that is the case as we come along and have free and fair elections.
Well, and they also need to impose a code of ethics on the court. I mean, it's insane that Clarence Thomas took millions of dollars in bribes from a billionaire and then voted in ways that would benefit that billionaire. I mean, Clarence Thomas should be in jail for that, not just off the court. I mean, that's just... John Roberts' wife has taken $10 million from law firms in Washington, D.C., many of whom have business with the court. That should be illegal. Who paid off Brett Kavanaugh's loans? You know, I mean, what's his name? Gorsuch, Neil Gorsuch, got a sweetheart real estate deal. I mean, it's just wrong.
All of these people need to be held accountable.
I agree. George, thank you for the call. Well said. We'll be right back. It's 20 minutes past the hour. Back with you in just a minute. Stay tuned. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. Human beings have a couple of unique characteristics. The first is that we can be very tender and loving and concerned and caring toward people we perceive as being our group, us. We can also be extraordinarily violent against people that we consider to be them, if we think of them or this other as a threat. Probably the classic example of this is Adolf Hitler convincing Germans that, Jews were a threat to them and good Germans going along with the Holocaust. Well, this othering is built into our DNA. This is, ancient stuff. And the Republican Party, since the time of Nixon, when he started, picking up the white racist vote after Democrats laid it down in the 60s, the Republicans have been using this to try to other minorities in America as a political strategy. And this is really deadly stuff. There's a whole op-ed about it over at HartmannReport.com. Is othering human nature's deadliest instinct? Check it out.
They're laughing in their towers, counting every dime as we're scraping by on nickels, just trying to survive. They're stacking up their billions every single day, while the schools and roads we're driving on are crumbling away. From the Dust Bowl days to the factory floors, we've fought these kings before. Now they're back again in tailored suits and ties, obsessed with hoarding power till the planet dies. It's the billionaire hoarding plague, sick with greed, addicted to the take. They'll sell our souls and steal our dreams till we rise up, break the fever, and reclaim what freedom means. It's the billionaire hoarding plague. We won't let them drag us to the grave.
23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Picking up your calls today. What's on your mind? Michelle in Sacramento, California. Hey, Michelle, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I'm wondering, and I was going to ask the congressman, but I'm wondering, since Democrats seem to have been flat-footed when Trump got back in, however that happened, but Project 2025 just seemed to put us on our back foot. I'm wondering if the Democrats are putting together Project 2029.
That's a damn good question. I know of at least two groups who are working on something like that, but I don't know if they're coordinating with Jeffries and Schumer or Democratic leadership.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party is not as top down as the Republican Party is. The Republican Party believes in hierarchy and classes and orders, as it were, to paraphrase Russell Kirk. And but they should have something in the works. I think this is going to shake out, Michelle, and I think what's going to do it is the elections next year. In the midterm elections, what we're going to see is every single member of the House of Representatives and 1/3 of the Senate, not to mention all across the states, are going to be up for re-election. And you're going to have governors and state senators and state representatives as well, and even judges. And what we're going to find as we wrap up 2026's elections, and so that'll be around this time 1 year from now, in December of 2026, and going into January 27, is that it will become clear which campaign strategies really worked well. What positions that were taken by candidates produced the best results as opposed to those that didn't.
Right.
And I can't predict what that's going to be right now. I would think that comprehensive immigration reform, a national health care program, free college, unionization, raising the minimum wage, strengthening Social Security and Medicare, those seem to be, to me, the core issues. But God only knows. I mean, it could be something else. But right now, it's a little early to know. I mean, we're all just kind of guessing, and we're also looking at the people who have won elections. I mean, the woman who just won the mayor in mayorship in Florida, in Miami. Part of her campaign was trash talking ICE, and I didn't know if that would work in Miami or not, but she beat a Republican on that. So,
that's right.
Because he was defending us.
We're learning as we go. We just have to be prepared for anything. I mean, we got to be united. So, I like optimism. I'm hanging on to it.
Yeah, me too. And that's also one of the big keys that Adam Smith was talking about. Was he said we have to be. As a party, we have to realize that there is a spectrum of opinion within our party and behaviors. And at least over the short term, which is over the next, I'd say 4 years, 5 years, we have to welcome the people in the party or hold on to the people in the party. As much as I like to trash talk Josh Gottheimer and Jared Golden, never saw a corporation whose money I didn't want to take, guys. As much as I like to pick on them, I would fight for them in an election because they're Democrats. It's one more vote in all probability for good stuff. So
got to coalesce.
Yeah, we've got to have a big tent here. Michelle, thank you. Excellent point and great topic. Appreciate the call. It's 27 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with more of your calls on the other side of this break here at the bottom of the hour. Stay with us. And by the way, happy Hanukkah if that's your holiday. I think we're into that right now. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Helping you win the water cooler wars. I'll be right back with you. Hey there, sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth, our abundance, or our welfare, or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning. have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, you know, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free healthcare, or low-cost college or healthcare, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you. Help support progressive radio. If you're listening to us on a commercial station, call their advertisers and let them know you're listening. If you're listening to us on Pacifica, or one of our many nonprofit stations, please support them when they do their fundraising drives. Thanks for supporting Progressive Talk Radio, and tag you're it. When I was a little kid, my grandmother had a piano, and I loved to play it. I was incompetent, but I was figuring out all kinds of stuff. And then I kind of got away from it and, went to school and things got busy and just lost track of it. Well, now there's this fascinating new study out of the University of Geneva, Switzerland, that is making me think maybe I should go back and learn the piano. What they found was that they took a group of 132 healthy older adults, retired, 62 to 78 years old. Half of them learned the piano, half of them took music classes without learning the piano. And what they found was that those who learned the piano actually had the strongest increase in their memory, in their mental competence, their mental faculties. Those who took the music classes also did well, but learning the piano was a huge step. So check it out. There's a whole long rant about this over at HartmanReport.com. Check it out.
The North Pole, there's a man with a list, checking it twice, seeing who he'll assist. Santa's been listening, the words getting clear. He tunes to Thom Hartmann this time every year. Does Santa Claus listen to the Thom Hartmann Show? He's learning about democracy and all we should know. When leaders are dirty, the coal starts to flow. Does Santa Claus listen to the Thom Hartmann Show? He heard about Trump and his undemocratic ways, the lies, the corruption, and games he plays. Santa shook his head, said, that's not right. Coal's coming his way this Christmas night. Does Santa Claus listen
36
to the
minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Picking up your calls here, AJ in La Mesa, California. Hey, AJ, what's on your mind today?
Good Monday, Tom. I hope everything's dry up in the bunker.
Actually, we're getting another one of these atmospheric rivers. It stopped raining for a few minutes here, but the rest of the week is going to be pretty intense, which means it's coming to the people to the east of us. So I realize you're south of us, but to the east of us, get ready. What's on your mind, AJ?
I have friends to the east. Let me start very quickly with thoughts on the tragic passing of Rob Reiner and his wife. This is from Hilar Belloc's On a Sundial from 1938. Loss and possession, death and life are one. There falls no shadow where there shines no sun.
Nice kind of Buddhist saying.
With respect to what the congressman was talking about toward the end of his time with you, I want to quote Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who famously said that everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but not to his own facts. In my opinion, if the Democrats could coalesce around a set of simple, basic facts and invoke the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, the message has got to be simple, easy to understand, and memorable. And you hammer that core set of facts home again and again and again. And it doesn't matter what the right has to say. They can't argue with a set of, with evidence-based reality. Now, I realize, Will Rogers famously said in Ambassador of Goodwill, Prince of Wit and Wisdom from 1935, I'm not a member of any organized party, I'm a Democrat. Be that as it may, nevertheless, it seems to me, at least, that one can state a set of principles based on irrefutable facts. And that's my rant for the day, sir.
Yeah, well done, AJ, and I completely agree with you. We've got a number of irrefutable facts. We have the greatest disparity between the rich and the poor in this country of any other developed country of the world. We have an obscene amount of wealth that has gone to a handful of billionaires at the top, and an obscene level of poverty. 1 in 5 children, maybe 1 in 4 American children, at least once a year goes to bed hungry. I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with that. We've got 20-some-odd million people who have no health insurance whatsoever, and probably close to 100 million who are underinsured, and we pay twice as much as any other country in the world, just so that these banksters, basically, is what they are, can ride off to the sunset with their billion-dollar money, bonuses and things. We've got a banking sector that is predatory. We've got a concentration of every sector: food, retail, airlines, ISPs for internet, sir, you name it. Most people don't have choice. They're stuck with giant monopolies or a choice between 2 or 3 monopolies. And all of these things are things that really need to be addressed. So well said, AJ. Thank you. Andrea in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hey, Andrea, what's on your mind today?
Hello.
Hey.
Thanks so much for taking my call. I want to let you know that I do appreciate everything you guys do as independent journalists. Yesterday, I was watching ABC News, and oh my goodness, I almost had a heart attack. So the lady, the journalist, she's supposed to develop like a journalistic piece, right, as a journalist. So she was talking about driverless ride-sharing service.
Yeah, the Waymo
and
stuff.
Actually, I didn't know anything about it. But it was an infomercial. So she showed how wonderful it is, how cool it is, how she only talked about good things about this. But she did not even mention the amount of people that would be unemployed if it really starts to become more popular.
Yeah, well, right now, if you lose your mainstream job, driving an Uber is basically the number one, thing that is typically available to people, and that will go away if everything goes the Waymo way.
A lot of family members and friends, they rely on this kind of Uber and Lyft. To pay their bills, and I'm extremely concerned about that. I'm extremely concerned about my job, about my family members' job. AI is I think the main, it should be the main focus of absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't see anybody talking about it in Congress. I don't hear nobody talking about it in Senate. Or, as far as I know, only Bernie Sanders, bless his heart, is talking about it. And this country voted for the worst person in the worst moment. What do you think Donald Trump is going to do? I am so concerned about this.
What do I think he's going to do in what context?
I'm talking about AI.
Oh, with regard to AI?
To start creating, yes.
Well, he's already done it. You've got David Sachs, who is a billionaire who owns an AI company that Donald Trump put in charge of regulating AI. So guess what? AI isn't going to get regulated, which radically increases the possibility or even probability that you're going to see a bubble pop.
And it's amazing that on the media, every time they talk about it, they only talk about how wonderful this is, right? Every year they have this context of wonderful robots. They are almost like pretty humanized, almost human.
Yeah.
And showing them doing cute things, dancing, kicking a ball, what people don't understand. And media should do their job. They should make people understand that the reason why these companies are investing billions in these robots is to get your job.
Right, it's to lower labor costs, basically. Back in the day of Mr. Ludd, when he and his followers, the Luddites, were running around smashing factory equipment, they saw that the Industrial Revolution was going to do away with a lot of blue-collar jobs. AI is doing away with a lot of white-collar jobs. And, things like legal assistants and editors and writers. And I mean, it's
interpreters like me.
What do you do, Andrea?
I am an interpreter.
Oh, an interpreter.
Do you really believe yes. Do you really think in a couple of years people are going to need an interpreter? Now, there is on Obamacare, there is a law. They demanded back then, and it became part of the law, that everyone who speaks English as a second language, they have the right to have an interpreter available, and this is the law. I really hope that nobody's going to touch that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, I mean, Apple has now come out with earbuds that translate, in real time, and they even maintain the intonation of the original source, so that you get, inflective emphasis and things.
It's pretty unbelievable.
It is pretty amazing what technology has been able to do, and yeah, I would be concerned for your profession too. I think it's probably, get ready. I don't know what to say. It's Andrea, thank you for the call. I wish you the very best in this, and happy holidays. It's in about 10 seconds. It'll be 45 minutes past the hour, and I'll be back with more of your calls in just a minute. Stay with us.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Defending America from the weapons of mass deception. I'll be right back with your calls. And welcome back. Joe in San Antonio, Texas. Hey, Joe, what's on your mind today?
Hey, Tom. Hey, you had a rant earlier about the nature of things, how you were getting to there seems to be a consensus when other decisions are made other than humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that rant?
Yeah, that democracy is something that is not just unique to humans. Virtually all species actively practice democracy. It's a survival skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced of that. I've seen stuff in my here where I live. I'm lucky enough to have a pond, and it's kind of low right now. But used to be ducks that would come over, and I don't know if you've ever seen that. And when they come over, they do a flyby several times.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time they're chirping. You know, it seems like they're talking.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
communicating. And then they will all just end all at once.
Yep.
And I thought it was so cool. And, you know, and I believe that there seems to be a nature of things.
Yep. It is.
Right. And so here's what I'm getting at. Now, even though there's a preponderance of evidence, there's always people that say, I don't know. Well, I'd like to point out a guy who's a pro basketball player. And, you know, he's rich enough, strong enough, I imagine, because he believes in flat earth. His name is Kyrie Irving.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know he was a flat earther, sir?
No, I didn't.
Right. And this is what boggles my
mind. He must not ride in
know,
airplanes because you can see the curvature of the
right.
earth.
And much less he's a pro basketball player, and they make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
A little bit of money.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know, okay, it's one thing to believe something, but prove it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get up in a plane and get weightless, see the curvature of the earth, and then get back to me.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I'm sure he'll never do it. Because
I'm guessing that he's just, you know, espousing that belief as a way of getting attention.
Maybe so, but it just boggles my mind. And then when you look at the nature of things, you don't even have to look at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Look at a riverbed. You don't see any straight lines. What happens is the water works the rocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything kind of takes on a little bit of deflection.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the nature of things, right? It's dumb to make a square thing because, you know, only humans would do that. So I reinforce your rant here. And it's great to hear something that's sensible. And I think it's not a crime to be ignorant, but it's a crime to stay ignorant if you can find out the truth.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And, you know, I've done my share of tongue-in-cheek stuff like that. I mean, you know, we back years and years ago, I was, back literally in the 70s, I was in New York City with my best friend, Jerry Schneiderman, and we were walking down the street, and this guy, big hairy guy wearing a tutu, a pink tutu with a little tiara on top, carrying a wand with a star at the end of it, on roller skates, rolls up to us and says, "Hi, Jerry." And Jerry goes, "Well, hello, good fairy. This is my friend Tom." And the good fairy blessed me. And then the good fairy told me that look out for the pigeons. They're spies from the planet Xenu. And, you know, every month the mothership comes down and picks up all the pigeons and then drops a whole new load and you know, plays the little tapes that they all have. And his proof was that wherever you see, you know, powerful people, there's going to be pigeons. You know, whenever world leaders organize, you know, there's pigeons, and that they're always spying, and you never see dead pigeons and you never see baby pigeons. And so I started talking about it on this program. Some guy turned it into a meme, you know, birds aren't real. But I've been pitching that for 23 years, but it's completely tongue-in-cheek. I mean, I would never claim that I actually believe that, but these flat earth people, I don't get it, Joe. It's got to be tongue-in-cheek. Joe, I got to run. But thanks.
I certainly believe in the consensus, but in among humans, we're going to wind up with the might means right, and that's just not the way to do it.
All righty, Joe. Bye now. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. So back in 1933, when Franklin Roosevelt became president, we were in the depths of the Great Depression. He raised the top income tax rate on billionaires from 25% to 90%. The ultra-rich were screaming, and here's what he had to say.
A number of my friends who belong in the very high upper bracket have suggested to me on several occasions of late that if I am re-elected president, they will have to move to some other nation because of high taxes here. Now, I will miss them very much.
He just took it right to them, right? Now, what came out of that was the world's largest and fastest growing and first major middle class. We can do this again. We just have to raise taxes on rich people. It's pretty straightforward. There's a whole article about it over at HartmannReport.com. Check it out.
Dwayne lost his job, lost his toes, lost his pride. 5 kids at home, got no heat inside. Winter's clawing at the cracks in the floor, but Congress just walked past and slammed the door. They'll let you freeze and call it freedom, cut you down and say it's law. leave you broke in the name of reason, while the billionaires toast with applause. Oh, they'll strip your soul and call it wisdom, feed the rich while the poor just bleed. They'll let you freeze and call it freedom, cold as the heart of their greed.
51 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Jan in Etna Green, Indiana. Hey, Jan, what's on your mind today?
Well, I got a couple questions that I need to be straightened out on. We're about the same age, if not the exact same age, but I can remember as a teenager, late teens, I had a CD at the local bank, and I think I was getting like 5% at that time. And I would keep adding a little bit to that, and it stayed at 5%. And people seemed to be doing pretty good. Had jobs and houses and cars, and women got to stay home and be housewives. And then I don't know. I got married and got to raising children of interest rates. But we built a house, a little modest home out in the country, and I think we paid like 6% interest on our home at that point. I could be off. I'm not sure. Anyway, moving forward, I was widowed in 1988, and he had some life insurance, and I switched jobs in 1989, and I remember driving by a bank, and they were advertising CDs for 10%. Interest rate. So I had some money for a while, and then I don't know. Reagan was president at the time. I do remember
I get that there was a huge inflation. Jan, what's the point you're trying to make?
Well, I want to know what has happened. Why just plain old savings has been so demonized and made punitive. Yeah. Because there was a while, what little money I have left, I was getting like 0.5% on. So I understand they wanted people to invest in the stock market, but why do both parties see saving?
Yeah, the banks used to have, good old-fashioned savings accounts. You're absolutely right, and I know the bank that I bank at. I have a checking account and a savings account, but the savings account pays nothing. I mean, it pays like 0.3% or something like that, unless you have 20 or I think it's more than $20,000, parked in it continuously, and then it goes up to like 1%. Whereas you can buy, money market fund. You can get into money markets now for around 4.5%, 5%, maybe 3.5%, 4% now. It's been coming down. I just think it's the greed of these banksters, the unregulated banking industry, and we really need to go back to having checking accounts that you can rely on and savings accounts that actually reflect the marketplace. Jan, thank you. That was excellent. David in Salt Lake City, Utah. Hey, David, what's up?
Well, just the temperature's not up much, but it's a good day.
And there's probably some weather coming your way if our weather's any indicator.
Well, we could use some moisture down here.
Good.
We keep hearing about the drought. But anyway, what I'm talking about, I think there needs to be some changes to how we phrase things. We need to stop calling the Trumpian party the right wing, because there's nothing right about them. So I refer to them as the wrong wing now.
Or the Reich wing.
Well, they're the right? Aren't they on the right, the Trumpian party?
Yeah, no, I was pronouncing it like the German word for empire. Reich, R-E-I-C-H.
Oh, yeah, I can get you now. And then another thing, if we do happen to, and I hope we do, take back the House and the Senate, there's like 6 Supreme Court justices need to be put in jail for perjury.
For the testimony they gave when they were brought before Congress, when they first were appointed, I would not disagree with that. It's never going to happen, but I would not disagree with that.
You're saying, isn't perjury a felony?
It is. Yeah, lying to Congress is a crime.
So that's just my gripes. I got more, but that's where I'm going to leave it today. So
yeah. Well, there's. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, David. Nice to hear from you. Andre in Calgary, Canada. Andre, I have only about a half a minute left here. You got a quick one?
Yeah, I'm talking about utilizing AI to invisibly time travel to important American events in history.
Mm-hmm.
Like I brought you along to the founding of the Federal Reserve Bank on Jekyll Island. And it gave me a summation that written by you, but it's a DeepSeek AI version of it. Do you want to hear it?
I'm sorry, I'm out of time, Andre. I'd be fascinated by it. We'll have to do that another time. I'm sorry. It's the top of the hour. We're flat out of time. Thanks so much for being with us today. Don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us, and that includes you. So get out there, get active, tag you're it. Have a great afternoon. Be good to yourself and the folks around you. Stay safe, and I'll catch up with you.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt the program, as it were, or your day, but you'll recall on Friday, I did a little rant about how Trump's tariffs and income tax breaks for billionaires and all his craziness are breaking the economy. I am convinced we are in a recession. I've seen all kinds of indicators of it. We're seeing an indicator of it here at Free Speech TV, too. Our fundraising is down substantially, and we have not hit our goal. With the last 2 weeks of fundraising, we did not hit our goal. And so we very much need your help right now. And, and thankfully, a frontline funder, Andrew from California, has stepped up and said that he will double your contributions today. This is a one-day fundraiser. This is not going to last for a week. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and make your donation, or go to freespeech.org/donate for this special one-day. Let's try to get to our goal, because we've got to keep the lights on. We've got to keep the electrons flowing. And, clearly a number of people who have contributed in the past are no longer able to, or, overwhelmed or whatever. So please, this is a real emergency for Free Speech TV, and we really need your help. So please call now, or go to freespeech.org/donate. While you're doing that, here's a clip of Lyndon Johnson reminding us about what America can be and should be.
Our mission is at once the oldest and the most basic of this country: to right wrong, to do justice, to serve man. In our time, we have come to live with the moments of great crisis. Our lives have been marked with debate about great issues of war and peace, issues of prosperity and depression. But rarely in any time does an issue lay bare the secret heart of America itself. Rarely are we met with a challenge, not to our growth or abundance, or our welfare or our security, but rather to the values and the purposes and the meaning of our beloved nation. The issue of equal rights for American Negroes is such an issue. And should we defeat every enemy, and should we double our wealth and conquer the stars and still be unequal to this issue, then we will have failed as a people and as a nation. For with a country as with a person, what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
There you go. I mean, that is the essence of what I think of as America, what I think of as the ideals that were set out by many of our founders at the very beginning, have been pursued throughout the history of the United States, fought and died for by generations of people. And, you know, here we are. And in the midst of this, we see greed. We see, you know, these giant corporations, right-wing billionaires, basically trying to buy the country, paying to put, you know, buying politicians, buying policy, buying tax breaks, preventing us from getting simple things that they have in every other developed country in the world, like free college or free healthcare, or low-cost college or healthcare, and decent, affordable housing, and an end to homelessness. We could do that here. We could do all of those things here in the United States. But as long as we're just saturated with this right-wing media world, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. And that's why Free Speech TV is so important. This is one of the few vehicles that is out there, one of the few media places that is out there actually speaking the truth about these issues. So please, you know, like I said, we're running behind. Please call now, 877-3, if you haven't yet, 877-378-8669, or go to freespeech.org/donate. There's still the gifts, by the way, a $20 one-time gift, which gets doubled, mystery sticker, $60 one-time gift, or $5 a month, the contribution to RAM, the remote area medical services. $144 or $12 a month. You get a copy of my book, The Last American President, autographed by the author. This is the only way to get an autographed copy, by the way. $240, join our virtual meet and greet. $1,000, come here to Portland, and you know, you can hang out in the studio for the third hour of our program, and then I'll take you to lunch. But whatever. Again, we have an angel, Andrew in California, who is doubling your gift today. 877-378-8669 or freespeech.org/donate. We're just doing this today. This is it. Please call now, or please go to the website. We really need your help. Free speech is worth saving. Thank you.